Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the BAMF podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, here with regular guest Owen Casey Stevens. Owen, how are you doing?
Hi, folks. I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking.
All right, all right. So today we are here to talk about the new Superman trailer, which I'm tempted to play in the background quietly, but it tends to get me copyright strikes from YouTube. So I might just do a slideshow treatment of that one. But yeah, it's been all the news. It was a fun trailer. Actually made you feel something, unlike certain other superhero media recently. Had crypto. It had Guy Gardner, had Metamorpho, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific. A lot of buzz. A lot of Snyder guys are mad about it, but honestly, I thought it was pretty fun. What'd you think, Owen?
It even had the engineer, apparently, if you look really, really, really closely.
You think so? The engineer
it has been confirmed. It has been confirmed that there is at least a shot that technically the engineer is in. My understanding is that it's probably a shot of the LexCorp tower, and like there's a 4-pixel tall person, and that person's the engineer.
And people are digging into this. Andrew Collas, who was going to be here but couldn't make it, asked me to convey his sentiments, which are, it's a trailer that tells us nothing of the potential final product, but I enjoyed it. And also, Gen Z Superman looks lame.
I like Superman. He's not my favorite Superman, but it's good enough. I'm not going to find it distracting.
It's neither.
And it does tell us some crucial things, right? It tells us this Superman can bleed, right? That's identified in the first few seconds. It tells us crypto's in the movie. It tells us that Lex Luthor is bald in the movie, which is not always the case. It tells us that there are going to be other heroes in the world. It tells us that in the fictional country, the name of which I forget, which was like in the 3rd Superman comic ever, they established this country. There's going to be a little boy raising a flag with an S on it who's going to whisper Superman's name. It tells us that this is a Superman who will throw himself between a little girl and an explosion. And that's important because a trailer is part of a conversation, right? This is the movie makers, James Gunn in particular, trying to tell us something about the movie. Obviously, not everything about the movie. And it has, I admit, gotten a little silly because this is a trailer. And before the trailer, we had a teaser that was advertising the trailer. And before the teaser, they had a single screenshot that was telling us when the teaser was coming out. So a trailer's an ad. A teaser is an ad for an ad. And that one frame was an ad for an ad for an ad. I get that you want to prep people and have hype build, but I actually personally think an ad for an ad for an ad is taking things too far. But what do I know? This is apparently the most viewed in its first, I believe, 48 hours and most talked about trailer in Warner Brothers history. So I may think an ad for an ad for an ad is going too far, but this, oh, hey, Jacob, this is part of a relaunch, right? They want to drive home that this is a new Superman story. It's a new actor and it's a new tone, right? And I get it that if you liked dark, grim Superman, that this seems like a downgrade to you. And I'm not even going to get on people's case for that. But I like bright, shiny, hopeful Superman. And so, I had no problem with Henry Cavill. I thought Henry Cavill made a great Superman. I did not like the story's tone and cinematography that they built around him. I do like the cinematography, colors, and tone of the trailer, which in no way means I'll like the movie. But this is the first hurdle, basically, right? This is their first chance to give us a feel of what this is actually going to be like. And we have all seen movies that had great trailers and were terrible movies. And we've all seen trailers that actively lie about what the movie is like. I am a huge fan of the story told in the trailer for the movie Max Payne. That is not the movie that Max Payne is. That trailer actively lies to you, even though all the scenes in it are in the movie. It actively lies to you what that movie is going to be like, and I wanted to see the movie that the trailer promised, not the one that actually came out. I don't know if I'll like this movie, but it's a good sign so far. It cheered me up. It made me tear up, although I am a giant sap, so that's not necessarily a huge get. And it makes me hopeful that I will enjoy the movie and that I will enjoy this whole new era of material from James Gunn. I liked the Peacemaker series. I like what I've seen so far of Creature Commandos. I'm actually not as big a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy as a lot of people are. They show up fairly low on my rating of all Marvel cinema ever, which you can find on my Patreon if you want. But I didn't hate them. I didn't dislike them. They're not at the bottom of my Marvel movie list by any means. And I like the idea of there being a person in charge who's trying to build a range of different superhero stories, some of which are going to be upbeat. So that is my initial reaction. And some of that conversation I was talking about is very specifically, there are things in this trailer that exist because previous Supermen have been different, right? When we had Brandon Routh as Superman, the first scene with that Superman is a heavy machine gun bullet bouncing off his eye. Now, do I think bullets should bounce off the eye of Superman? Yeah, I do. But when that's the first thing you show us, what you're saying is this is a indestructible, immortal being who takes no damage. The first thing they're showing us in this trailer is Superman falling from the flipping sky, moaning in pain, bleeding, and having to call his dog to take him home. That is a very different Superman than we have ever gotten in cinema, and that is part of that conversation. They're telling us this is what we at least want you to believe will be in this movie. When we have so much talk about whether or not the previous couple of DC Superman efforts were too dark or too willing to kill or did too much damage, part of the counterpoint conversation is, okay, we're going to specifically put in a scene where Superman is sliding in front of a child and saving her from an explosion. That's the kind of stuff that is informative to what they want us to believe the movie's in, and I at least hope that the stuff that they're telling us is not just in the movie. I suspect all those scenes will be in the movie, but that they are representative of the tone and the cinematography and the intent of the movie. Hi, Jacob. You want to speak?
Hello.
Thanks for showing up. Real quick, I'm cutting you off, and I apologize. Just wanted to acknowledge Mike Mendoza. Thank you for showing up, sir. And he says, no, Martha, is she the parent who dies now? We can speculate. It was a very short trailer, so it's hard to say if Martha lives or not, or will show up later to offer a conciliation moment with Batman.
No. Yeah, I mean, so this is not an origin story. She may not be in the movie.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I have a suspicion that we have seen in the trailer Jonathan Kent. But we're not so sure
absolutely.
So far
That's
about
Pruitt Taylor Vince, and that is in the trailer that the man who feels like he's Jonathan is the actor Pruitt Taylor Vince, and that he is credited as being Jonathan Kent.
But
and what I find interesting about that shot go ahead, Jacob.
As far as the initial reaction go, Superman is a character that is supposed to be about the hope of humanity. And this trailer certainly encompasses that thought and that feeling, in that we hope this is a return to what Superman is supposed to be. We hope that this is a return of the classic feeling of Superman, and it's certainly possible that this may be that, considering one of the first things we see are the bright shiny colors, and something we have never seen before in any trailer, which is freaking Crypto the Superdog. Is that it is unprecedented. Not only is he on the poster of some of the art we have seen, but he's in the freaking first trailer we see. And that sets a certain tone of what we're likely to see in the film. And it gives me hope, and it makes me happy. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of tear up when they watch this trailer, is they get that hope.
I teared up just because I'm so happy to see Nathan Fillion on the big screen again. It's been a while.
It is good to see his cheese, yes.
Even if he is playing middle-aged Guy Gardner. You know, good to see Guy Gardner on the big screen. That's never happened before.
Yes.
It has been a while. And I know a lot of people hate the Guy Gardner haircut in real life, but at least some of the people I've heard complain about when characters on the big screen don't look like the comic version. And that stupid bull haircut is Guy Gardner in a heartbeat. If you showed me Nathan Fillion and I didn't see a drop of green on him and he was in civvies and he had that haircut and they said, "What superhero is that?" I'd say that's Guy Gardner.
Mm-hmm. They didn't even
also,
need to
I've heard people complain that Guy Gardner is a weird
powers. I'm done.
Right. They did super briefly, but that is absolutely Guy Gardner. I know a lot of people think Guy Gardner is a weird person to put a weird Green Lantern to put in a Superman movie. I actually think he's the perfect Green Lantern to put in a Superman movie because I don't really want to see a Guy Gardner movie in particular. And I know that there is a Green Lantern series coming. And while Guy Gardner will be in it, it's going to much more focus on Hal Jordan and John Stewart. So letting Hal Jordan and John Stewart have a series to flesh them out, and then we may add them to movies later. And then having our Green Gardner that does not, our Green Gardner, our Green Lantern that does not get as much background time or face time be Gardner in the movie in a supporting role makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, Michael's exactly right. Guy is the Green Lantern who presents the biggest contrast to Superman. That's absolutely the case, and I think that's a smart way to use that character, and I think that's a smart way to use your Green Lantern characters. And it honestly, it makes me more excited to see the series that we've got a Green Lantern. He's got a relatively cool costume. He's got the big green ring. But, Guy is an ass, and that's a great place to put him so I don't have to watch an entire movie about an ass.
Yes.
So there's a kaiju in this trailer. It breathes fire. I have no clue what DC monster that would be. Jacob, do you have any?
There's honestly a couple of kaiju if you're paying attention. There's also the big glowy tentacle monster, which I think may be like the living sun or the sun eater or something.
Yeah, that's in there, and it could be, but see, it's got some options. The giant lizard kaiju that breathes fire obviously makes me think of Godzilla, and not only was classic Godzilla comic books Marvel, but Marvel is now having Godzilla come back for some special comics.
Yeah, Solaris.
Solaris. I suppose it could be Solaris. I don't know. I honestly don't know, right? I can't pin down this is definitely Creature X from DC. But, again, I think, especially in our current cultural moment, if you're going to have multiple superheroes on screen at any time, a kaiju is a great thing to put up against them, right? Mm-hmm. If Superman is the primary person dealing with it, having people like Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific to make plans and keep track of it and do crowd control and prevent wreckage from falling on people, I think that's all great stuff.
Yeah.
Potentially. I have no idea if that's what we'll do with it, but
well, we don't know. Unfortunately, we don't know the context of most of the scenes. We're really only seen. We've really only seen what the trailer has offered. So that in that regard, we'd just be making up ideas and making suggestions as to the context.
What do we have from James Gunn so far? We've got Suicide Squad 2, we've got Peacemaker, Creature Commandos, and this trailer.
For in return in regards to the DC universe we're working with.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. We've got based on everything that's been talked about, the second Suicide Squad movie technically is in there. Peacemaker is in there, and Creature Commandos, and now whatever Superman ends up happening.
So.
We also know that he is. They have greenlit a Clayface standalone movie.
Oh, that could be fun.
Okay. I have heard of a Robbins film that's supposed to be about
dynamic
duo. Be about Dick Grayson and like Tim Drake.
Right.
I just watched Creature Commandos in the gym this week, and I've got to say I'm really impressed. It feels just like a Suicide Squad sequel to me. It's more the Suicide sequel I wanted than Peacemaker was.
Well,
Rainn Wilson and Elliot Page? What movie is that going to be? Which one are we talking about there?
Yeah, I believe it's called Super.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard about that. Oh, wait, that's
like
an old
2010.
Right? Okay. So that was before Guardians of the Galaxy and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit.
Yeah. Back when Rainn Wilson was still in movies.
He did Slither, if we want to go back that far, but...
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged. He has good musical taste. He's using Gogo Bordello as, prominently in the Creature Commandos soundtrack, and I'm a big fan of those guys. So, I don't know. I'm enthusiastic about this. From an RPG designer point of view, God, I feel like an asshole. From an RPG designer point of view.
Music, he uses a version of the
John Williams theme. Sorry, I didn't hear you there. What'd you say?
I said from a music point of view, it's worth noting that John Williams scores in the trailer.
Yeah, he's got kind of a guitar take on that, right?
Yeah, that's what the guitar take is.
Yeah,
it's the classic Superman song piece.
So it's it's all the right notes for me. I'm enthusiastic, and I've liked his other work. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. No, I like superheroes, guys. I like superhero games. I would be okay if we took a break from superhero movies for a couple of years, but if they're going to make one, this looks like a.
I don't have any need to take a break from superhero movies. There are tropes that have been getting used a fair amount in recent superhero movies, like I personally am not likely to be excited about a superhero that has to fight his evil opposite anytime soon.
Yeah.
And does that mean that I would rather not see Bizarro or Ultraman in the next movie? Yeah, I'd rather not. Although Bizarro has not been on the big screen, and he is a great foil for Superman, so I'll forgive them. What if Michael Bay directed a Superman movie? Feel free to have that thought, Michael. But
you know that Michael Bay bought the movie rights to Skibbity Toilet, so he might be a little too busy.
I did know that, actually, and my understanding is that is in development as we speak. And have you guys seen the Pac-Man short in the Secret Level animated series over at Prime right now?
No,
yes, I have.
So I don't want to spoiler it, but it is very, very clear that the people making that were like, okay, Pac-Man does not have a lot of narrative depth, but it does have some specific elements. What story can we tell that uses those elements, but is unlike anything that has ever been connected to Pac-Man before? And I know that several people's reaction has been to watch it and say, I don't remember any of that in the video game. I personally really liked it. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, it's different.
It is creepy. It is cool. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Which, considering this series is done by a lot of the same people who gave us Love, Sex, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, Love, Death, and Robots. It was a lot of that amazingness and creativeness that we loved to see from that series, and yeah, the Pac-Man short was
and folks,
great.
That was it, right? That giant monster picking up a guy off the ground while there's a glowing, weird-shaped door in the background. That's Pac-Man from Secret Level. So, yeah, I don't remember that from the video game, but I did see how they got there. And the only point I was trying to make was you can take certain elements and do very, very, very different stories with them. Mm-hmm. I think superheroes are not only a natural storytelling mechanism, framework for modern stories, because you can have a lot of modern material, but you can also drive into some of the classic bits of mythology, right? Gods and monsters in a modern setting. And in many ways, it's more mainstream than doing something like actually putting gods and monsters in a modern movie. Although, right, with like superheroes with Shazam, and for that matter, Black Adam, you can have gods and monsters if that's what you want, or Wonder Woman. I just think that some movies got really formulaic. And I think that formula needs to be given a rest. And I don't think they're all formulaic, but especially when they introduce a new character, they tend to want to fall back on what is comfortably narrative, I suspect, for the studio and its executives, right? They get it. If you're trying to introduce a new character and you're like, okay, well, just think of it as Daredevil, but he has machine guns. Well, that's a weird thing to say, but you can envision those elements in your head. One of the things I really like about Gunn is that I feel like he is a creative storyteller. And while like his 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies are by far not my favorite Marvel stuff, they don't fall into the same tropes over and over and over. And the third one of those is my favorite, which is unusual, right? The third of a series is rarely my favorite version of it. It's also a movie I never want to watch again, but I don't want to watch it again for exactly the same reason it's my favorite. And I am really amused, Mike, that you're just cycling through Superman XPs back there.
Yeah.
These weren't Superman? They told me these were Superman. I bought these at the dollar store earlier today. They didn't tell me this.
Did you get Wish Superman? Is that what's going on, Mike?
I got Wish.com Superman. Yeah. Oh, well, you get what you paid for. That's what they say.
Superman is a fascinating character. He is the only fictional character I can think of who has been a plot point in multiple movies in realities where he doesn't exist. If you watch The Iron Giant, Superman is a plot point in the movie The Iron Giant, right? And that speaks to the depth of Superman's penetration into the modern zeitgeist. Iron Giant isn't a superhero movie. It's not a realistic movie, but it's still a very different film. And it evokes Superman because it's a point it thinks everyone will know. While I'm not a huge fan of it, the 2007 film Fred Claus, which has no superheroes in it whatsoever, invokes Superman as part of the crucial conflict in that movie. And I just think I can't think of any other fictional character that has that kind of depth that you can be doing a wacky holiday comedy, or you can be doing an animated sci-fi movie set in the 50s, maybe 60s, and they can connect to this well-established, nearly 100-year-old now character, who, at his heart, is an immigrant who's come to this country to try and make things better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you need to get into some of the old public domain characters for that kind of penetration, like Dracula or Sherlock Holmes. Everyone might know those two, but
can you think of a movie that mentions Dracula where there are no vampires, even Dracula, in the movie?
forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Okay.
That's what's
Sherlock Holmes, I'll give you, right? People will mention Sherlock Holmes occasionally.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure how often he's a plot point, right? More of an analogy will get made using him. But yeah, you do normally have to get into those public domain characters, 1800s characters that have, like, Robin Hood clearly will get mentioned, but rarely are people talking about whether Robin Hood is a good or noble or inspirational character. They'll just use it as a one-off to say, hey, you can't go around playing Robin Hood.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only Superman pastiche with a mohawk, although someone might correct me.
There are so many Superman pastiches once you get into comics after a certain age. So,
which is fascinating because Superman himself is arguably a pastiche of a character from a novel. But
I wish we had Jason Tandro here. He could talk about that subject with you. You're thinking of Gladiator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A novel I've read. And, I feel like Superman's a case of Superman did it better.
And Mendoza says Frankenstein's monster was a thematic element in the Gods of Motion movie that starred Ian McKellen and Brendan Fraser. That is true.
Yep. That is going back to the public domain, even older in that case, but it is a great example, right? Characters that are still under copyright and are less than a century old, though not that much less now, are just less likely to get to use it. And I still think that speaks to the ubiquity of Superman. My mom, when she was a child, read Mary Marvel comics, right? And she does not consider herself a superhero nerd. And there is no Marvel character that she will recognize. She has a vague idea that there might be someone called Spider-Man, and that's it. But she knows Superman. She knows Superman. She knows that he's a strange visitor from another planet. She knows that kryptonite affects him. Those are part of her baseline Western culture knowledge.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. When I was a kid, Batman 66 and the old 1950s Superman with George Reeves were two of my favorite shows on syndication. And for the longest time, I thought that Superman's major villain were vaguely ethnic guys wearing fedoras and trench coats messing around with the railroads somewhere out west.
Well, I mean, when he first came around, those were some of his major villains.
Yeah. It seems like it was always a couple of big city shysters trying to pull a heist out in the train line, and Superman had to, but.
And that version of Superman, when I was growing up, I loved it, but it also felt directly connected to the Shazam Power Hour version of Shazam going across the country in an RV to try and help people.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't mind seeing that version of Shazam come back. I mean, that's never going to happen, but Well,
at this point, I have to say never, right? Would it be a niche thing? Yes, but I would have said that the classic 50s Batman would never come back, and now they've made some comics with him. So, I mean 60s, but point is, those characters.
They had Batman 66 as a webcomic for a long time, and it was it was great. Yeah.
And didn't they have the 1950s Superman show up in at least one of those?
Oh yeah, they had all kinds of crossovers. They had him show up there. They had Linda Carter Wonder Woman show up. They had a crossover with TV's Avengers, Man from U.N.C.L.E., TV's Green Hornet. You name it, it was there. So yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, TV's Green Hornet crossed over with the Adam West Batman show as a TV show. But
that is true. That was Bruce Lee's first TV work, I think.
Yep.
So.
But we're going a little far afield from the trailer, beyond saying, yes, this character has great cultural impact. So let me ask you, Jacob, was there anything you saw in the trailer you didn't like?
Not that immediately comes to mind, just because every character that I saw, I knew who it was when I saw them immediately. If you're familiar at all with Superman and his surrounding cast of characters. I don't think anyone who is familiar with them could have watched this trailer and not known who they are unless they just don't know Superman at all. Because you saw the woman holding the newspaper and the coffee, and you immediately that's Lois Lane. You saw the bald guy holding the pistol. There's Lex Luthor. They didn't even need to show the Luthor Corp logo following him. That was Lex Luthor. We knew immediately who it was. And
I absolutely did not. Go ahead.
They did. The only reason I think they showed some of the other characters that they did is trying to firmly establish that this is not necessarily going to be an origin movie. This is going to be the first movie in the context of this series of movies. But we want it firmly established that there are already other superheroes. This is a superhero universe. It is an existing superhero universe. So we don't have to set up a context of bringing superheroes into a universe that has thus far just been people.
Right.
Kind of like they did with Iron Man. They showed us a universe that was supposed to be just people, had a guy in a super suit, and then slowly introduced us into the greater universe that technically has already had a whole bunch of superheroes in it.
Yeah, that approach, I think it was a great approach, but it has caused some problems for Marvel because they've had to say, yeah, there was some stuff in the 70s, but no one really knows about it. Okay, there have been aliens, but they're all shape-shifting and pretending. Yes, Ant-Man and the Wasp were, secretly doing spy stuff. And there comes a point where you got to go, no one knew any of this who was one of the reporters standing there talking to Iron Man. But I still think it was a smart approach for when they started because they didn't know how these things would be taken. And I think it's important that even if your long-term plan is a collective universe, I think you need, with your first movie, to say, okay, we're going to make the best movie we can for the movie's sake. And some of those choices may be informed by the fact that we want to connect things later. But we're not forcing anything into it that does not also serve this story.
Well, I think you have to acknowledge that, God bless the Snyderverse. R.I.P. They were kind of chasing Marvel for a long time and even copying some of their tropes, like always having a goddamn origin story for every character. And I think this is James Gunn wanting to say, no, we're going to do it differently. Everyone's done that before to death. We're going to, come at it from a different direction to avoid making the mistakes of the past.
The YouTube series Pitch Meeting, which always amuses me, got to the point with DC movies, they were like, okay, but where's the giant space beam of light at the end? Don't they have to fight a giant space beam of light at the end?
Yeah.
Because there's more than one of those movies that does that. And they also clearly rushed it, right? They're like, okay, here's Superman. We're going to do the Justice League. And you could start with the Justice League. You really could. But trying to... If you watch that first Justice League, well, really the only Justice League movie, and you see Batman talking about how Superman is a beacon of hope and we have to bring him back, et cetera, and you're like, when the heck did any of that emotion sneak in? Because it's not in the Batman v Superman movie. It's not in the Superman movie before that. Last time we heard Batman talking about him, he was just grudgingly coming back from, if there's a 1% chance he'll ever go bad, we have to assume he will, let's kill him. And then the very next movie, it's, well, if we have any problem whatsoever, we have to have Superman back. It just did not flow narratively.
Yeah.
So since Mike, was there anything you didn't like the look of in the trailer?
Look, it made me feel things. Movie trailers don't always do that these days.
Nope.
People watch trailers on pause button. These days it's always, oh hey, there's this guy. I love Metamorpho. I had no idea he was in the trailer. I watched the trailer 3 times. I missed Metamorpho completely. Mendoza's picking out that you could find Cat Grant, Ron Trope, and the Chauvinist Sports Guy. They were all in the background. I missed that, but that's how we do trailers now. They know there's going to be shows, the guys like us talking about it. There's going to be some lovely fellow with OCD hitting his pause button to see every character in every frame, and that's marketing these days. I understand it. So no, I'm happy about it. I'd like to see this be the next era of superhero movies, kind of doing DC right. Maybe bringing some of that Grant Morrison, Mark Waid flavor from the 90s and early 2000s, onto the big screen. So I've got high hopes. I've really enjoyed Creature Commandos. I like what they've done there, which reminds me of a game Jacob and I used to play called The Monsters Are Our Heroes by our friend Eric Bloat.
Yep.
Yes.
Which was a fun little, black hack variant where you play Creature Commandos. No, it was good. So yeah, I know I'm looking forward to seeing it. I just wish we could see the movie now. Well,
I did not recognize him as Metamorpho when he showed up on the screen. Weirdly, and let me open. I liked the trailer. If the trailer is an accurate representation of the tone and attitude of the movie, I will enjoy the movie. I don't like the look of Metamorpho, and in no way is my objection that he is not comic correct. I just don't like the look of him. I find that look uninteresting, artificial, unbelievable, not something that I particularly find myself intrigued or entertained by. He looks like someone got a bad makeup job, and that's what he looks like. That will not necessarily interfere with my ability to enjoy the movie. I'm just trying to do an honest and upfront job of discussing, was there anything in the movie I don't like? There was a lot more stuff that I found interesting that the movie may not touch on it at all. But for example, in the scene we have where Clark is in civilian clothes and sitting on the porch with the character that we can determine through IMDb is playing Jonathan Kent, his father, Clark's not wearing glasses. Facially, he looks a lot more like Superman in that scene, and his expression and his posture than he looks like the classic Clark Kent. And that could mean that this movie is going to show that when he's at home, he's walking around and acting like Superman because his parents know, and it's Smallville and it's a farm and no one else will be out there. Or it could be that at that moment he has not come up with the Clark Kent disguise yet. Or it could be none of those things. And he had his glasses on 2 seconds ago, and it's 1 second of footage, and he just happens to have taken his glasses off, and he's sighing, and he looks serious for a moment. I don't know, but I find it interesting that the trailer had enough meat in it to make me wonder about those things. That I'm like, oh, I can see, even in this trailer, that even when he's not slouched, his Clark Kent at the Daily Planet looks like a different attitude and posture than his Superman does. And this is a place where I get a Superman vibe from him, even though he's in civvies. I wonder about the fact that we have seen, just in that one trailer, we've got a shot where Lois is kissing Clark Kent, and we've got a shot where she's kissing Superman. I don't know if she's going to know they're the same person. I would guess that she will by the end of the movie. For all I know, we'll get an introductory scene of him walking in on his first day, and it'll say 12 years later, and they'll be married. I just have no clue. But I noticed it, and it means that it is making me care about its narrative. And that, to me, is one of the most important things that a trailer or a movie can do. Because if I don't care about these people and what they're going through, then it becomes a music video at that point.
Yeah, no, I'm really with you. Have we talked this to death? Have we done everything we can do for the 2025 Superman trailer?
Well, there's only so much that could be said about a 2-minute trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, I assure you, I could keep talking. Now, if you ask me, am I going to add anything sufficient? new and useful.
Sounds like Owen's internet is cutting in and out.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, we now have the biggest audience number we've had all show. We had a bunch of viewers. Folks, thanks for checking this out. We are just wrapping up our discussion of the Superman 2025 trailer. Yeah, I think Owen is fully frozen. He's in the.
Well, if anyone's got a question, send it in. We'll answer it.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, well, Owen, welcome back. I thought you lost there for a second.
You froze up for a bit there.
Oh, I was ranting the whole time. Dang.
Sorry if we missed something, but yeah, you froze up for a good solid minute there.
Well, all I was doing was talking about how much I could talk for the rest of an hour about this trailer, but I don't think I would add anything of use. So at a meta level, you all didn't even hear me say that. So
it's fair. It's fair.
I got to make a joke about being in the Phantom Zone. That might be my highlight of my wit for this particular show. So, hey, this is a stupid question. I know the answer already, I think, but there is not currently a licensed DC Comics role-playing game. Although Cryptozoic is doing a huge Kickstarter for a nostalgia, facsimile edition of a 40-year-old version of the DC.
Yeah, which means they had to have the license to do it, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it would be a license specifically just to reprint the old game. So Cryptozoic has the current RPG license then. So
I mean, they might have the current RPG license, but they had to have some kind of license to rerun that.
Okay.
And while no, there is not a license for it anymore, the DC Heroes that Green Ronin did is the same rules as their current edition of Mutants and Masterminds. So you can pick up Mutants and Masterminds and build all those characters, and a lot of those builds are available publicly on fan sites and such.
Well, yeah, it's been out for a decade or so. So yeah, definitely something you can do. I just it seems like I remember at one point thinking, why doesn't Marvel do an RPG to tie in with the MCU? And then the answer winds up being more complicated, that they're not really, for a licensed RPG to succeed, you need to have enough of an overlap, in the Venn diagram, between audience members who are enthusiastic enough to buy merchandise and people who like to do the other thing you're trying to,
I mean, I've been involved in a lot of licensed RPGs, right? Star Wars, Wheel of Time, Black Company, EverQuest. Anytime that you can have an RPG out that has the same name and same basic main characters and trope as a movie that made more than $100 million, that is a significant boost to your sales. When it comes to books, your license had better be cheaper, or those books had better be whatever the current hotness is in books. There were two different Song of Ice and Fire RPGs, and the Green Ronin one did well, but that license was for a limited amount of time. And if I were Green Ronin, I wouldn't try and put one out right now, because the series is over and the finale season did not come out to universal acclaim. And who knows when the next book will be out. But I think Marvel did the Marvel Multiverse RPG in part. Well, actually, that's an interesting point, Michael. Actually, it is not a snapshot of the DC universe right before the New 52. It is very specifically an effort to present classic versions of the characters tied to no one moment in time. The whole point of that is to say, what is the quintessential classic Batman, the quintessential classic Superman? So they weren't sticking to before New 52 continuity, and they didn't do deep dives on the characters, right? They just tried to present overall, what do most people think as being the core elements of this character, and that's what they presented.
Yeah, I got to say, it was very much the same for when speaking about other licenses that are similar, the new Transformers RPG. Because how do you appease the fans of so many different variations of the Transformers property? no two of which have really been similar to one another. Are you going to appease the old 1980s fans? Are you going to appease the Beast Wars people? Are you going to appease the people who've only seen the newer stuff? Are you going to try to appease the people who liked the Japanese stuff?
Are you going to like the people that were just fans of the toys and the information on the back of their toy packaging? Are you going for just the fans of the current comic series or the fans of the original Marvel? Yeah, no, it's the same problem. Although I got to say, Transformers 1 did a spectacular job putting together something that was recognizable and felt respectful to a bunch of different continuities. I was impressed by its ability to do that.
And this where I was going with the role-playing game is I think they did a good job in taking all the Transformers lore that was available and presenting a role-playing game that has the feel of all the of Transformers without establishing a specific universe that they are aiming for.
And of course, Marvel got away with it by calling it the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, and just noting that there are a whole bunch of different continuities. So,
yes. So in that regard, that was a fairly decent idea to go with it. That way, you can do whatever you want with your Marvel game and your Marvel campaign, and it doesn't necessarily have to coincide with what your friend across the street is doing with their Marvel campaign.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because I heard that after one, Hasbro has decided they're going to give up on making movies, and they're just going to jack up their license fee for movies and other properties. And I've heard speculation this is going to mess up the Energon line at IDW. Have you guys heard about this?
So I've heard about it in public parlance, right? I don't have any insider information. Clearly, they're disappointed with their last couple of movies, Dungeons & Dragons and Transformers 1, which they helped fund. So those are movies where they got a bigger share of the profits, but they had to put out some of the money up front. My understanding is what they have decided is that they are not themselves going to fund any more movies, and that they will be looking to make their cut of movies from licensing. I haven't heard anyone say that they are going to be jacking up the licensing for anything else, where Hasbro, except for stuff that might be part of D&D, which they own Wizards of the Coast, and therefore they own it. I don't see that there's any reason why that's going to impact anything else they do licensing-wise, because they haven't been trying to fund those things themselves anyway. So when it comes to comics and non-WotC role-playing games and board games and miniatures and lunch boxes, those should all already have a business plan where Hasbro knows the cut they're getting is the licensing cut. With movies, they had been trying to get a bigger piece of the pie by taking a bigger piece of the risk. And like a lot of people that start funding movies that aren't movie studios, discovered that that risk is there for a reason.
Yep. Okay, so maybe we don't need to worry too much about the Transformers line going away in comics then.
I mean, anything's possible, and I try not to bet against corporate greed and stupidity. So sure, it could happen, but I don't think there's any reason to think it's inevitable.
Okay, that gives me some hope. Well, anything else you want to talk about on this subject, gentlemen?
I really like the fact that we've got a Supergirl movie on the books. I think that is a exciting next step. I find it fascinating that they're not trying to shut down their currently successful projects that aren't part of this continuity, right? It's been pretty clear that the Batman movies are going to keep going and are not part of this continuity. That is the same continuity as the Penguin TV series on Max, which might or might not get another season, but they made no effort to choke it back or not promote it, and it's not part of this continuity. Some of the animated stuff, like Creature Commandos, is part of this continuity, but they also clearly have animated movies coming out that won't be part of this continuity. So I think it's it's a smart move, and I think it's a little easier for DC because, as I said, they've got that cultural zeitgeist ubiquity. So I think people are used to the idea that there are a lot of different versions of Superman and Batman because there always have been. Whereas it's not nearly as easy to say, well, there are a lot of versions of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Sure, there are, but most people seeing the movie won't be aware of them. But I think it's a smart move, and I think it bodes well. What I've heard about the Clayface movie is that James Gunn was not trying to make a Clayface movie, but that someone came to him with a pitch. The pitch was fascinating, and he said, okay, write a script. And then the script blew him away. And a series of superhero movies based on the idea that there's a good story behind it, I am at least interested to see where that novel idea takes them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I know, we're getting another season of the Harley Quinn animated show, and that has absolutely nothing to do with the current movie continuity.
And I have no faith that Sony was picking its spider person adjacent movies because they were blown away by scripts, right? They were picking things they thought would be marketable.
Yeah.
And, Venom did well for them. Madam Web and Morbius and Craven didn't. That means their live action movies are still batting 500, right? That'll get your contract renewed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I've really enjoyed the Penguin. Right now we have three different versions of the Penguin. There's the one in the Caped Crusader new cartoon. There's the classic one we see in the comics, and then there's Tony Soprano Light that we've got in the live action Max show. So there's multiple takes on that character. Some very, very different. So I don't know. It's cool stuff. It's an interesting time to be a comic book fan. But I think we've talked the subject to death. I am open to disagreements, but
no, we're coming up on an hour. I think we've squeezed all the juice out of the lemon of this. Well, it's not a lemon. Out of the fruit of this trailer that we can.
Yeah.
When is this movie coming out?
July of next year.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay, we got 8 months to talk about this movie. Okay.
And there will be other trailers, and there will be trailers for other movies, right? I actually probably wouldn't encourage us to get back together for a new DC movie continuity conversation until, for example, a Supergirl trailer comes out. No, Mike, get that off.
You don't like this guy?
I love the actor. I actually liked the character when he showed up in The Flash, of all things. For 2.3 seconds. But no, get him off there. There we go. Much better.
Yeah, there's a resemblance between this guy and Nicolas Cage. Just putting it out there.
If I was told that Nicolas Cage was going to play One Punch, I would watch that trailer.
Yeah, something about the eyes. There's just there's a familiarity there. So
there's a dead crazy look that seems Nick Cage-esque to you.
A dead crazy look. Hey folks, if you've enjoyed Owen's wit and witticism this evening, you can find more of this content at patreon.com/OwenKCStevens.
And I still have a GoFundMe going to help cover the bills from my 2-year so far successful fight with cancer, which is in remission. January, of course, all of my deductibles reset, and I've got surgery coming. So if you feel charitable and you're in a position to help, this would be a great time to either back my Patreon or make a donation to my GoFundMe.
I'm trying to find the banner for your GoFundMe. I don't have it handy. Do you have that off the top of your head?
I think all I've got is the actual normal URL. I was actually looking for that banner myself the other day.
Okay.
Because you made it, and it was so convenient, and then I couldn't pull it together.
Yeah, I talk to other people occasionally, so I have other banners I put
Do
up
a Google search for Help Owen Casey Stevens Fight Cancer, and that is the name of the GoFundMe. It should pop up.
Yeah. And, folks, it's that special time of year. Are you shopping for a hard-to-shop-for gamer? Not sure what to get them? Well, Jacob Blackman has designed a Cocaine Owlbear t-shirt. You can find it at tinyurl.com/CokeOwlbear t-shirt. This is perfect for the choosy gamer in your life right now. And con season will be coming up in the summer. What better way to stand out and be noticed at conventions than with a Cocaine Owlbear t-shirt.
The great thing about the Cocaine Owlbear t-shirt, which I had nothing to do with and make no money on, is that you don't have to have any idea where it came from. You don't have to have any idea that there is a Cocaine Owlbear role-playing game. If you are in the geekosphere at all, seeing Cocaine Owlbear and that lovely art will make you bust up.
Yes.
So yeah, if you've got a gamer or geek of any or cinemaphile of any description on your wish list, on your holiday list, do go buy them a Cocaine Owlbear t-shirt.
If you don't, can you really say you love them?
And our official motto is, it's cocaine-erific.
It's cocaine-erific.
Yeah, put that all over social media, Mike. See how the companies respond to your saying cocaine-erific.
I think we got a whole lot of bans considering what happened when he tried to promote that on Facebook recently.
Yeah,
there it is. tinyurl.com. Owen Funds.
Yep, that is it. Help Owen. Cancer sucks, and our healthcare system is dystopian. So, this podcast does not endorse the assassination of healthcare CEOs, but it's a bad system, folks. So
I don't endorse that either. I obviously have complicated thoughts, and I haven't had the energy to express them. But I did see someone say something that I found really interesting, and that is the day we heard a CEO had been killed by someone. All anyone had to tell us is that a apparent normal citizen killed the CEO of a healthcare company, and we all knew the motive.
Yeah, it's. It's. I think relying on the old method of waiting for three ghosts to show up around Christmas time to rehabilitate, greedy plutocrats might be outdated. So.
I was trying to get my surgery done this year so that I would be on this year's deductible. And literally, one of the factors that caused me to not be able to do it is there were other people with more expensive surgeries that got prioritized ahead of me. And I can't even complain about that, right? The doctors and the caregivers are desperately trying to take care of people. And healthcare insurance is one of the things that makes their life difficult.
Yeah. Indeed. So, tinyurl.com/Owen Funds. Help our friend Owen.
Thanks, everybody.
On that happy note, I'm ready to wrap this show up. Closing thoughts, guys?
It is very different making a trailer and making a movie. I like pretty much all of James Gunn's movies, and I love some of them. And I feel, though I can't prove it, that he was pretty heavily involved in the creation of this trailer, which is not always the case. And I find all of those factors very encouraging.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. Jacob, any thoughts? Or are we wrapping up?
I think we're good. I think we're much of what I would say has already been said, so I'd just be saying it over again.
Okay, no worries.
Go buy a Cocaine Owlbear t-shirt, folks.
Go buy a Cocaine Owlbear t-shirt.
It's cocaine.
Get one for Grandma. Give her something to talk about in the retirement home. So, okay. On that happy note, folks, thanks for checking the BAMF podcast. You can find us on not on Twitter anymore. No, we're on Facebook and Blue Sky. We've given up on Twitter, so that's where to find us. Thanks again, folks, and we'll talk to you again. Have a happy holiday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, folks.
See ya.